AI is everywhere right now, and it can write code, generate content, fix bugs, and give you a starting point in seconds. But if you're an entrepreneur building a real product, you've probably already realized something very important. AI alone simply is not enough. Hey, this is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council and Tech Vibe Radio, bringing you 10-minute tech talks, business insights, and growth hacks for the time-crunched entrepreneur. And in today's episode, I am joined again by Greg Lutz from Mescius, a Pittsburgh-based software company that spent decades building tools for developers who need to move fast and build things that actually work in the real world. In this clip, Greg shares a grounded, practical perspective on where AI truly adds value, where it can lead you astray, and why purpose-built development tools still matter more than ever. If you're using AI to accelerate your work, but wondering how to turn those quick wins into sustainable software, this is a conversation you gotta keep listening to. Let's jump into it right now.
We're just also seeing lots of trends in AI, people asking about AI and stuff like that. So in fact, our upcoming code clinic integrates with AI, as you'll see. For those who want to check that out.
I'm curious about your thoughts on AI. I mean, I've actually done this myself, and I am by no means a coder, but there have been times where I can't fix something on my site or even an email, and I'll go out onto chat and be like, I need to do this. Can you write a piece? We'll make this chart like center itself. Things as simple as that. And it basically works. I am always also very distrustful sometimes. Because I'm like, wait a second, I don't really know what all is in that code. I'm just curious where you fall on that stuff and how, why I think it's so important that people use real tools and not just rely on chat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Where I think we think AI is bringing value to developers is really in the onboarding, the on-ramping of learning how to do something.
That's a great point. I like that. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Tell me more about that now.
Yeah, so that's how, that's also like when we're thinking about how we can incorporate AI into our product, like we want to help people, we're in the business of making it easier. So how can we then throw in some AI into that, make it even easier? Not necessarily using AI in the final product, but in the getting started. I love thinking of AI as a great tool to help you get started with something. You just want that template. You just need that starting point, and then you take it from there. And that's where I think there's a lot of value.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's like AI in so many different levels.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to write an email, that's what people are using.
That's actually a really good point. And what I'm really curious about also is, I mean, the depth that you have for being around doing the coding and being part of it, you've really been there since day one in many ways when it comes, and now you've seen this rise to where we are with AI and how it's helping us. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, obviously you want to embrace all things tech.
Yes.
But is there a breakout point where you're kind of like, wait a second?
Yeah. Part of me looks at it I try to think of it as it's just the evolution of the tooling, like when they invented Photoshop, nobody was like, oh, artists, it's a tool that's making it easier to do certain things. Okay, but AI is it's still like the wild, wild west right now. I do
100%.
So but isn't that like how the internet started? It was like the wild, wild west,
If anything, if it starts out a little weird, there's no rules.
Until the government tries to regulate it, or there's people making profit off of it, and all this. But
that's interesting. Yeah, you got some great ink. And so the other thing that I think is really interesting about, because you've been in Mescius for 10 plus years, obviously the philosophy behind the company's got to be something that you really vibed with, right? And I feel like this comes right through with what you're doing with these webinars that you guys have. What is it about Mescius' philosophy that really gets you excited? And it seems like it's very welcoming, embracing, and it's very interactive.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I love being a product manager. I love being sort of consider being the parents of a child.
That is
a product, and you have to, make that product look as best as it can on the shelf so people want to, look at it and use it.
100%.
And, you have to, look at it from every angle, from, the marketing and the sales and the user experience. But the philosophy with Mescius, we're in the business of making developers' lives easier. And we're also, grateful for the technology ecosystems that are out there that allow companies like us to sort of play in that space. So essentially, extending the libraries, making reusable components that can be packaged and sold. So, of course, I'm coming from the .NET space, and Microsoft, they basically built this whole ecosystem for this exact purpose. Because Microsoft realized we could not possibly create solutions for every industry, every scenario. We're going to just put out the building blocks, and we're going to make it extensible, and then allow other developers to come in and provide all those pieces on top. And then that makes .NET ecosystem even stronger.
I love that, because I love that feeling of having the core pieces, but then getting different mindsets and backgrounds that are developing and bringing that together. And then people are kind of learning from each other. They're seeing how someone else wrote some code on something, and they take that back to solve a problem that they're doing.
Yep.
I just love that feeling of people coming together. So I feel like two minds on something is way better than one mind, and you can have thousands of minds that are working on this stuff all the time. How cool is that?
Yep. And then GitHub has been great for that, for collaborating.
Totally.
Yeah. And so this Code Clinic is kind of like, it's in this space of we're trying to reach out to the developers and, gather feedback, get interaction, and also educate them on technologies and also our products.
The other thing I'm thinking about, because I feel like this is this is almost, if anyone has an interest, they can check these things out. They can attend the webinar, or they can go and watch the videos and start learning something. And I'm thinking about our entrepreneurs out there that are building stuff, and sometimes they're doing some of their own coding and stuff. And I think for them to know that there are tools out there that they could be using to make their coding a little better, to get faster, easier. I think this is a great resource for them.
What stands out to me in this conversation is the reminder that AI isn't a replacement for good tooling, good architecture, or good judgment. It is an accelerator, a starting point, and when used the right way, a powerful companion for developers and founders alike. Resources like Mescius' Code Clinic exist to help bridge that gap, turning curiosity into capability and experimentation into production-ready solutions. If you're building, learning, and trying to stay ahead as technology continues to evolve, this is a mindset worth keeping with you. Thanks again for listening to 10-Minute Tech Talks. I am Jonathan Kirsting, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode.